Happy Wednesday. Many thanks for joining the program. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutesi. Let's begin tonight's edition by informing you that today at Urugwiro Village, His Excellency President Paul Kagame received Jo Lomas, the British High Commissioner, who is ending her 3-year term in Rwanda. Jo Lomas was appointed British High Commissioner to Rwanda and non-resident ambassador to Burundi in November 2017. Prior to this, she served as a British High Commissioner to Namibia from September 2015 to November 2017. Now, if all goes to plan, in the next 5 years in Kigali, there will be unmanned aerial cable car system powered by solar panels. It's a multi-billion-dollar project that will help Rwanda create jobs for more than 5,000 people and solve the problem of car traffic congestion in Kigali. Ethan Tashobia kicks us off tonight with this story.
As years go by, the population of Rwandan capital Kigali is growing, and it is expected that by 2050 it will increase threefolds to 5,200 people per square kilometer from 1,778 in 2020. This increase in Kigali residents and commuters is considered by some to be the root cause of traffic congestion in the capital Kigali. It is a common problem at various streets in Kigali, especially in the rush hours when people are going to work or returning back home in the evening. When I drive from Nyabugogo to Kachil, for instance, it becomes very difficult in morning hours. From Nyabugogo to Remera, otherwise one would spend 15 minutes when there is no traffic jam. But when it is there, one can easily spend 40 minutes on the road. Traffic jam is especially worse in parts of Nyabugogo. I don't know if it's because of the unfinished roads to Red Cross. Elsewhere in the city, in Jiporoso, it is not easy to go past the traffic light in rush hours. Expanding the size of these roads and bypass connecting the suburbs to the CBD will address this issue. In order to solve this problem in a sustainable way, housing and development experts agree that population growth must go hand in hand with infrastructural development such as roads. The government of Rwanda is currently working on increasing the number of roads, expanding the main highways, and the construction of aerial cable car system in the capital Kigali. The Minister of Infrastructure, Ambassador Claver Gatete, says some of the projects will start in the near future as their budget is already available.
Sonatube ujya Gahanga ugera hariya kukagera urabona uriya muhanda ukuntu irimo bubakwa.
Kicukiro Gahanga Bugesera Road will be complete in August, and it is a big size road. We are also working on expanding Prince House Remera Nyandungu Masaka Road, which will have a two-way, four-lane road to help ease traffic flow on that route for about 10 kilometers from Remera. Nyabugogo to Nyabarongo Road will also be expanded to a two-way, two-lane road, as well as Nyabugogo Nyachonga Road. A private investor is ready to build a new Kigali bypass among other ring roads. The one which you expect to have a major impact is the cable car project, which is being worked on together with Vubacop. Vubacop, a US-based international company, has already signed an agreement with the government of Rwanda to launch an automated transit network in Rwanda. The company's CEO, Paul Clan, said the project would cost $1 billion to provide between 2,000 to 3,000 automated cable cars in Kigali before the end of year 2026.
Initially, we're looking for investment for Vuba, the company, to build the headquarters and things here and do all the testing and development. Later on, there will be investment in the project, and that's a very big investment, right? We will cover, I think, about 2/3 of the city with this technology. So it's a very big system. It could be upwards of a $1 billion project when all is said and done, and it will come in phases. So 2/3 of the city really means, right now we're estimating it could be around 140 kilometers of the guideway, right? The structure that the vehicles ride on, and that might be 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles that would operate on it. So it's a very big system. Phase 1 would be about 10% of that. It's a small start so that we can build and test and prove things before we continue on to the full system. We would like to see that started and maybe part of it operational in 2024. For the whole thing, we would look at another 2 years to build the whole thing out to cover the city. So we've done a pre-feasibility study, right, based on some assumptions at the beginning. Our estimates are we can probably have about 5,000 jobs
This solar-powered cable car network will be built alongside the roads that are normally used by land vehicles. One automated cable car carries between 4 to 6 passengers, traveling at the speed of about 100 kilometers per hour. Vuba Corp will register as a Rwandan company, and some of the equipment to build the cable cars and the technology will be built and manufactured in Rwanda, so that its services will be extended to other African countries as a Made in Rwanda initiative. Reporting for RwandaTV News, Ethan Tashabia.
Many thanks, Ethan Tashiria, for that report. Now, staying on the same note, as the government of Rwanda last week signed a memorandum of understanding with Vuba Corp for the development of smart city mobility solutions. We earlier discussed with Paul Klein, founder and CEO of Vuba Corp, about, among other things, the solutions Smart City Mobility presents. Take a look.
Vuba is a smart mobility company, smart city mobility company, and essentially we use driverless electric vehicles to give non-stop rides throughout the city. So you could imagine using a phone app, similar to other ride sharing, or maybe you use a kiosk in the city and you request a ride, and within a minute or less, this driverless electric vehicle arrives and it takes you non-stop to your destination. And the way that it does that is we have an elevated, we call it a guideway, that lifts the vehicle and the people off of the street and out of any congestion. So it's a very quick trip across town that should be very reliable, very safe, and also affordable for everybody.
Okay. Tell us about the memorandum of understanding that you signed, and in particular, why Rwanda?
Sure. So we've actually been working here in Rwanda with the government for more than 2 years to get to this point. So it's a really big milestone that we're very proud of. The MOU basically establishes a commitment between us and the government that says, hey, we're going to partner on this new technology. This is part of a shared vision that we both have, and we're committed to one another to make this happen. It's established sort of a safe space for us to start as a startup here. We're also helping develop the startup ecosystem, which is exciting, and they're allowing us some exclusivity to develop the technology here as Rwanda made. It'll be Rwandan IP. And then, also some time for technology development, for planning out the project, and then establishing a public-private partnership to build out the project.
Is there a given time frame to this project?
Yeah. So immediately we will begin on the feasibility study. We're allowed up to 18 months to submit that to the government. And during the time of the study, we'll also be doing technology development here in Kigali. So we'll be establishing our our African headquarters here. We'll be developing a building and testing facility. So you could see that going on probably within the next several. There will be a lot of TVET for people.
To us about that, how will that be achieved?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting part of this, because transportation in general seems to have difficulty raising a profit. Often it has to be subsidized by governments, and that is not the case with what we are doing. We're able to have driverless vehicles, so we can operate on demand in the middle of the night if needed. If a person needs a ride, we can send a vehicle. We're not having to pay a payroll, and so that can make it profitable. We're also electric, so we'll be using a lot of renewable energy. Some of that we'll gather ourselves through solar that's installed on our system, and then very low maintenance. So this combination of cost reduction makes us very profitable, and I think it's really going to change the world of transport.
Oh, and what are some of the solutions that the smart city mobility is going to provide as compared to the transport systems that we have currently?
Sure. Well, let me say that what we are doing is not intended to replace anything else. As far as problems that we will solve, just getting cars off of the street. Worldwide, we just have more and more cars entering the streets, and it becomes more and more difficult to expand streets. And here in Kigali, that's especially difficult because of the hills. Expropriating land, widening streets, it's just sometimes too expensive or not even possible. So we give an opportunity to build up. We'll pull cars off of the street. So one of our vehicles can potentially take 10 to 20 cars off of the street, and that helps tremendously with congestion. The other thing would be probably the environmental concern. Using renewable energy instead of fossil fuels, we can cut greenhouse gas emissions dramatically in the transport sector, and I think we can really help the country and especially the Ministry of Environment reach these goals they've set for helping the environment.
Could you tell us who's financing the project?
Yeah, so we're doing things a little bit differently. We're trying to change the business model a bit. Our goal is to develop a Rwandan company. We're putting the company right here. We're developing the technology right here. We also want to create Rwandan ownership. Ideally, we would be able to achieve majority Rwandan ownership. And the reason for that is because as the company becomes profitable, we would like those profits to stay here in Rwanda and be reinvested into the community so that we can keep developing lives of the people here. So in light of that, we're holding part of the company equity for Rwandan investment, and hopefully we can achieve that.
Absolutely. Paul Klein, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as well, and looking forward to all the deliberations in the future.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you.
you.
Well, the Ministry of Environment has called on the public to be more environmentally friendly as the effects of its deterioration have begun to manifest in terms of global warming. It was also noted that cooperation between various institutions is very important. Innocent Mogabo with the details.
During a high-level dialogue on Rwanda's green growth and climate resilience strategy, it was noted that there is what appears to be signs of global warming in Rwanda. It is against this background that the Deputy Director General of Rwanda Environment Management Authority, REMA, Faustin Munyazi-Kwiye, explained the specifics of the new long-term strategy to protect the environment and tackle climate change. Even though these strategies are meant for both environment and climate change, but they also apply to all other aspects of national development. Here we base on the sections of energy, transportation, agriculture, so that everyone can have real and consistent measurements. It also has criteria that will be followed to make sure it has been achieved, of which is why we wanted to revise the action plan. Maxwell Gomera, the United Nations Development Programme UNDP resident representative in Rwanda, says that there is a need to continue partnerships and work with various stakeholders in the development of an eco-friendly economy for the future.
The future of ourselves and our children depends on the decisions that we are making today. Looking after the environment and looking after nature is not a tax on our growth. It is an investment into the future of our children. It generates jobs. It helps us to achieve a healthy environment, and it will help us to generate our own personal wealth.
The Minister of ICT and Innovation, Ingabire Paula, and Dorothea Groth, the head of cooperation at the German Embassy in Rwanda, also believe that there is a need to continue to strengthen efforts and research.
It's one thing to see global trends and what is happening elsewhere. It's another thing to contextualize it to what our environment is, to contextualize it to our particular, ecosystem. And so I think even as we go forward, as we think about research and innovation, it's really how it's taking into consideration these aspects of the environmental aspects and not just looking at the technology, because I think many of you have heard that technology has so many promises, but also to a certain extent, if not implemented well, will have the same unintended consequences that we're speaking about today.
It will be a joint effort. The government of Rwanda and development partners, we will have to see how we can improve financing, how we can support the government and the private sector here to have more good projects which people are queuing to finance. It will not be so difficult to find good financing sources.
The Minister of Environment, Dr. Jean-D'Arc Mujawamaria, urges the public to understand the seriousness of the problem of environmental degradation.
It's a fact.
Climate change is real, so we must put all our efforts into dealing with people who destroy the environment. In whatever activities we do, we should always remember to protect the environment, be it in infrastructure, agriculture, among others. We have no other option but for us all to follow that line.
The use of firewood, charcoal, and other fuels are some of the activities that lead to environmental degradation and air pollution. Rwanda is committed to reducing these activities from 79.9% in 2018 to 42% in 2024. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
To health matters now, the Ministry of Health has received 2 automated extraction PCR test machines as a donation from the government of Japan under its project named Strengthening COVID-19 Pandemic Response and Mitigating the Impact of Public Health Emergencies in Rwanda. Gislaine Mugoneza continues.
These 2 PCR COVID-19 testing machines were handed over to Rwanda's Ministry of Health to support Rwanda in fighting COVID-19. World Health Organization country representative Dr. Ndungu Salaba has appreciated the consistent effort and firm commitment of the government of Rwanda in responding effectively to the crisis caused by COVID-19.
I think what you appreciate is this donation is part of a consistent effort from the government of Japan since we started to fight first Ebola in 2019 and then 2020 and 2021 we received $750,000 to fight COVID. And these machines are part of this donation and other machines are to come also. So the government of Japan is our strong partner in the control of COVID-19 through WHO partnership that they have already. So I think this will increase our capacity to test and to give results on time. And it's part of socio-economic recovery effort that the government of Rwanda is implementing so that we can resume different activities, but we're doing it while with a strong surveillance of COVID. Because as we resume activities, there is risk of transmission. We need to know what is happening by testing people and by giving results as soon as possible.
These PCR machines that Japan donated to Rwanda have the capacity to test 240 people in 2 hours. The Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamishe, has mentioned that these machines will contribute to the Sustainability Laboratory Rapid Response to COVID-19 pandemic.
As WHO, our role, responsibility is to support the country. And we have been supporting Rwanda on all aspects to fight against COVID-19. Rwanda is one of the leaders on fighting COVID. Rwanda is doing very well, and we are working hand in hand to support the country to continue and sustain the fighting against COVID-19.
The 2 PCR testing machines cost $150,000. It is expected that one machine will be placed at Kigali International Airport Laboratory, while another one will be stationed at the National Reference Laboratory.
We do sincerely apologize for the mix-up of the interviews in that previous story. Now, away from Kigali, the Minister of Local Government, Gatabazi Jean-Marie Vianney, has called on 3,000 people in 6 sectors near the border in Nyagatare district, including former smugglers that are currently employed by the government, to spend their salaries on profitable and socially sustainable activities. He made the request when he officially launched a program to provide employment to people living near the border, including former smugglers. Umwari Jade continues.
In Grem Pasha sector, a program has been launched to provide employment to the people close to this sector. With all the excitement for the recipients of this program, they felt they should express it through song. These are some of the 3,000 residents who have been given the task of repairing 35 damaged roads in 6 sectors near the border in Nyagatare district, namely Kiombe, Karama, Tawengwa, Grempasha, Musheri, and Ratimba. Each person shall be paid 2,000 Rwandan francs a day, and they will be paid every 5 days. They consider this a great opportunity for them. It will almost be 2 weeks since they started working on this project. they have already had a taste of their first paycheck. The Minister of Rwanda local government, who officially launched the program in Nyagatare district, urged them to understand that this opportunity given to them by the government is an investment that helps them create projects that change their lives, instead of engaging in illegal activities that affect them and Rwandans in general.
ntabwo twavuga ngo tuzatanga akazi guhera mu kwa mbere kugeza mu kwa 12 umwaka utaha bikomeze.
We're not saying that we shall continuously provide them jobs month after month or year after year. We are trying to set up a foundation that helps them. That is to say, after these jobs are completed and the roads are successfully finished, they should be able to use the money they have earned to create jobs for their own. They can also look into business, livestock farming or agricultural farming. There's so much they can do that will provide them with money. They shouldn't be saying we'll get money when they give us jobs.
Hari ibintu byinshi bashobora gukora byabaha amafaranga batagombye kuvuga ngo tuzatubona amafaranga uko baduhaye akazi.
In addition to the damaged road rehabilitation project, the Minister of Rwanda local government says there are other activities planned for the population that will include employment in agriculture. It is not only in Nyagatare district. The program was recently launched in Burera and Gicumbi districts, in the northern province as well as districts on the Rwanda-Uganda border. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
Now, the Senate on Wednesday approved the organic law governing Rwandan citizenship. This organic law on Rwandan citizenship consists of 56 articles on Rwandan citizenship by origin and citizenship by naturalization. Some of the articles included the granting of Rwandan citizenship to a child that has been abandoned in Rwanda. Article 16 also talks about granting citizenship for someone who's been living in Rwanda for 15 consecutive years, with Article 18 talking about granting citizenship to immigrants that have been in the country for 25 years. The Senate had removed the clause granting citizenship for someone who's been living in Rwanda for 15 consecutive years, but the amendment was not approved by the lower house, which led to a formation of a joint commission by both chambers. Senator Dushimimana Lambert, who chaired the commission, explained that a clause had been added to address the concern on both sides. Some of those who work in the tourism sector in Rubavu district say they've been affected by the recent tremors, but now have resumed their activities. Jane Mutuni has the details.
Lake Kivu is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Rubavu district. However, now the owners of the hotels and restaurants in Rubavu town say that some of those who visited the area chose to leave during the earthquake, hence causing them losses. On Monday, the magnitude of the earthquake was not strong until on Tuesday and Wednesday. At the time, we had tourists from across the country and abroad. They got scared and moved out of the district. A week after the earthquake subsided, those in the tourism sector say they have now resumed their activities as usual and are urging people to come and tour there. We are now ready to receive tourists and provide them with the best services, which is something we are known for: good food and exotic rooms for those who want to relax and rest, especially during the weekends. Those touring in the area also affirmed that things are back to normal. Before we were worried, but everything is back to normal because the earthquake has stopped. The deputy director of the Hotels Owners Association in Rubavu district, Mabete Diodone, said they had now joined forces to tackle the devastating effects of the earthquake and also urges people to come and visit the area now that activities have resumed. We were updated about the status of the earthquake from time to time, which is why I would like to take this opportunity to thank the good governors of Rwanda for keeping us informed, hence making us feel safe. As a matter of fact, Rubavu district is now safe for travelers and everything is now back to normal. In Rubavu district, especially Gisenyi town, has been hit by earthquakes caused by the recent Nyiragongo volcano. This area is known for many tourism activities and heavily visited by people across Rwanda and abroad.
Now, agro-processing industries are urging financial institutions to ease the process of acquiring loans to control the issue of products getting spoiled before they hit the market. Rwanda financial institutions have a goal of a 10.4% interest rate on all agricultural loans by the year 2024. Gabi Mufunyi has more.
Some entrepreneurs with agro-processing industries are facing various challenges due to the fact financial institutions are handling them like other investors in the traditional business sector. Regis Mujiraneza owns a factory that processes bread and sweet potato flour, while Francois Nsengiyumva, the chairman of the Task Force at Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, both say this should not be the case.
Banks need to change their mindset and acknowledge that factories operate differently. We are requesting that they at least give us a grace period to learn and adjust to the market, and then we can start paying. There are times people venture into this industry, but in 2 to 3 years they close down and lose a lot of money because of the majority investments they put in. The only thing we lack as the private sector is investment in agriculture. So far, you can't take a bank loan of 20 or 18% to invest in things you will pay in 15 to 20 years. We have long asked for a fund to support investment in agriculture, but are questioning what happened to it. In doing so, we need a special investment in agriculture that would help in infrastructure and then would pay for it gradually.
The executive director of the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda, Aimable Nguranga, and the head of SME Business Banking at Equity Bank, Jean-Claude, both agreed to the requests made by the entrepreneurs.
These institutions are not many yet. We still have other financial institutions that have not yet put up these services that are relevant to each and every crop, the way it is done, and how to be delivered to the market. And that is what we are focusing on currently, in collaboration with investors and other various partners. Though financial institutions that receive everyone responding to their demands are still the least compared to others that give out general financial products.
Financial products ziri za rusange.
When a customer comes to ask for a loan to invest in machinery for processing corn or cassava, then you tell them that they have to pay it back in a period of 1 to 2 years. That creates a strain on them, yet usually long-term loans tend to go with a low profit.
The National Industry Research and Development Agency recently invested 600 million francs in the flour and vegetable processing industries. The head of Applied Research and Development Foresight Incubation at the National Industry Research and Development Agency, Dr. Olivier Kamana, says they have found solutions to solve this problem.
As NIRDA, we are in partnership. We have a partnership, a strong partnership with BRD, the Rwanda Development Bank. And through this partnership, we support industries. And some of those industries are in the agro-processing sector. So what we do, we give them machines. We provide machines to solve, to try to fill the gap related to technologies. And those machines are given to those industries through a scheme that is based on a loan, but this loan is interest-free and it has no collateral. This is an intervention that aims at supporting those agro-processing companies.
In 2019, the Institute of Policy Analysis and Research in Rwanda conducted a study that highlighted the loans issued by financial institutions at the time. 6% of them were invested in agriculture, which accounted for 27% of the country's GDP. Rwanda aims to reach 10.4% of the total agriculture loans by 2024. There are currently between 800 and 900 industries in the country. About 70% of them are agricultural products. Gabi Mufunyi for RTV.
Moving on through the Tech Upskill program, it is expected that the Technology Department in the Private Sector Federation in Rwanda, in collaboration with the Polytechnic School, will allow students in this field to develop their creativity. Polytechnic was limited in its ability to encourage students in the same setting, but this program will expand the opportunities to practice what they've seen in class.